Right now, Jerry Baker is with us, America's master gardener. He's on WHO radio and across the country as well. He's sold 26 million copies of books. That's unbelievable, Jerry. You're just a conglomerate all your own, aren't you, with your books and everything?
Yeah, I was in the right place at the right time. Most of the audience knows that I was a Detroit policeman, and I was undercover in narcotics, and my cover was always tree trimmer, landscaper, farmer, gardener, crop duster, seed salesman. And I was a seed salesman on the Eastern Market in Detroit. And the reason I was is because that's where all the drugs came in, was to the Eastern Market, on either with produce or meat or whatever, fish, whatever's coming in. That's where it was. And it was very difficult to get in, to be able to see it and not be given away. And I've been gardening since I was 6, and professionally since I was 12. And it was just a natural, because what my cover was. So I would wear a Kelly green derby, one of those kind that you wear on St. Patrick's Day. And the hat was really so my partners could see where I was in the market. And if I took my hat off and rubbed the side of my head, whoever I was facing, whether it was facing right at you, facing your back, your side, it meant that you're loaded and I could testify. Well, all the growers, when they would come in, they all thought that was so that they could tell me from the produce buyers, because the grocery stores come in. And the Free Press wrote a story about the Pied Piper of the Pickle Patch, the man that everybody chased. And so the public came looking for me that Saturday and destroyed several $1,000s worth of bedding plants, they said. Well, as a result of it, the Detroit Free Press asked me to write a garden column. And then WWJ Radio asked me if I would do vignettes for them for Ask Your Neighbor. And then everything was fine until I went to television. I went to television. A hooker recognized me that night and said, "Sugar Bowl, say, you look at my tomatoes." And I almost got blown away. But that basically is how it was. But what happened, the reason for this interest was that Rachel Carson's wrote Silent Spring that year, and everybody was in panic. And when they would go to the people who could answer their questions, they were so sophisticated and they couldn't understand it. Parts per million, so many pounds per acre. And the thing is, I remembered Grandma Putt, the lady I had to go live with. She was a humorist. She said, "Make people happy and glad, and they'll go out of their way to remember you and your message." So I make it fun and happy, and that's what I've done all of my life. I'm a horticultural humorist. I make you laugh while you learn.
That's cool. Great to have you back at WHO Radio.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And, of course, this has been home for almost 14 years, basically.
That's right.
With the show. And I go way back with Jan. I go back to the Mississippi River.
Now, you say you've known Jan for a long time, and, of course, he loves to toss barbs at people, and I'm sure he's done it to you many times.
Well, yeah, but you want to remember that sarcastic humor in the hands of the right people, and both of you can take it. Those listeners who were in the service know what the Dirty Dozens are. Well, that's just sort of a soft version, sarcastic humor, and I love it because it's true humor. And so, therefore, in what is it, if it's too hot in the kitchen, get out of it,
right.
And everything. But that's he's known, he's famous for it.
That's right.
And sometimes I'm sure that we're infamous for it. But and that's what I like. As a matter of fact, when you come up with the lines that I come up with, and of course anybody who goes out and sells poop and pee is certainly opened up for a lot of opinions and barbs and boop. But that's what gardening is. Gardening is. Someone asked one of my youngsters, "What's your dad do for a living?" He writes books and television. He's on the movies and things like that. And my daughter, who's a school teacher, said my pa's an entrepreneur of manure. And so
Jerry, I listened to you last Saturday, and I must have heard 10 times you talk about using urine. I mean, it was the whole theme of the show. Every person who called in, your solution was to use urine in some type of mixture.
Because it's nitrogen. It's a natural source of nitrogen, and people call in and complain about their dogs. Well, if they chased the dog with a mason jar, they wouldn't have to go out and buy fertilizer. Back in 1942, when I professionally broke into gardening, Kansas City, Missouri, 63rd and Troost, I broke 19 panes of glass in a ratty-looking range of greenhouses. My folks were moving into the neighborhood, and I was out scouting. And the man who owned it caught me, and he was an Indian called Sid Trueheart. And I had to work off the debt. It took me about a week and a half. I had to work it off. I had to take the glass out of all the seedlings that had been transplanted because he grew produce for the military. His war just started. It was February. And he was growing produce for the military bases around Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas and through there. And only source of nitrogen was urine, 20 parts water, 1 part urine. Well, today, urea, which is in all fertilizer, is pig urine. So, we sell the pork. We also sell everything else, including the pig ears to my dogs. and everything. So that's basically what it is. It's one of the oldest repellents, varmint repellent. It's the second best. Coyote urine is the best. It's also one of the best ant killers. It is. You use that. As a matter of fact, that's where the word pissant came from. That's a fact. That is not vulgarity. That's what it's all about, folks. Borer control, the natural methods. That's what I try to stick to. My grandma Putt, the lady I read about in all of my books, from way back the first one to the 52nd one. Grandma Putt, again, I was expelled from kindergarten September 21st, 1936. I'd only started on the 16th or something like that, and I was canned and everything. She lived in her garden and by her Bible, and again, we were in the throes of depression. I had to utilize what you had available. But there are over 300 things that, just common, ordinary things that are out and about your home that you can utilize in the environment. Want to remember, first of all, it must be compatible to the environment. It must be biodegradable to the environment. And if you just stop and think, all of the things that are in every bag, box, bottle, can, or container of the stuff that you use is available in a natural form. And so we'll use the natural methods until they fail. When they fail, then we will use a medication, and we will use it as recommended or less in a form that is compatible to the environment, and then it will be safe.
That's good. I have one more question about the urine thing, because last Saturday when I listened to your show, you told some woman the older the better for the urine. Now, my question is, does that mean an older person giving urine, or does that mean urine that has been stored for a longer period of time?
That's a great question, because it opens up something, and I haven't been asked. Very elderly people and very, very young people in the old husbandry books, the agricultural books of the 1400s and 1500s, said that, and they talked about urine. They, back in the late 1400s, and they didn't call it urine, folks, they call it what you and I all call it in slang. And they said that that's the best because it is milder. It's a milder form. So you would use that. For instance, if you use baby diapers, if you use a baby diaper and you cut that center section out of the new ones and you put it down in the bottom of a pot to fit with the plastic side down, you now have a plant tender, holds 30 times its own weight in water. If you do one with tinkle on it, not toot, folks, tinkle on it, now you won't have damping off in the first time. If you use Depends from an older person and did the same thing, first of all, I use Depends on bigger pots, folks, does the same thing. And right now, people are shaking and say, are those two guys really? we really are. What we're talking about is the real things in life. All of us know that, for instance, in medications, if a pharmaceutical company can't get a patent on a product, they can't make money. So they will synergize what is natural. They have to be able to synergize it or artificially manufacture it before they can get a patent. But now these things are coming back around. Now, you're too young to remember, but your listening audience, many of them like me, remember Diaperine, old Diaperine baby powder, the original, in a blue and white can and everything. And up until just a few years ago, and then back a few years ago, they changed the bacteriostat that was used in it to keep the little baby's rumps safe and not burn from urine burn. And then they found out that the synergized material they put in it didn't work out right, so they had to go back to what they originally had. They had chamomile in it. That's what's in it now, folks. The old wives' tales are scientific breakthroughs. The Farmer's Almanac is packed full of technical data in the organic net down the streets of practicing ecologists. And right now, Professor, you know what's dropping on our noggin out of doors? What the formula of rain is? Do you know what it is? 78% nitrogen. Okay, God doesn't call up Mother Nature and say, listen, I'd like a little 10.64 rained on the grass, 23.77 on the evergreens. He says, let her rip, and 78.21 drops. We run out buying all the magic motions, potions, or lotions, when in fact, you pick out any formula you want to. I like to buy the cheapest. I'm into the Broken Bag brand. Whatever it is, I mix them together. In the spring of the year, I put a pound of sugar, pound of Epsom salts in it, spread it at half the recommended rate, and then every 3 weeks from then on, I feed a can of beer, can of Coke, can of apple juice, cup of ammonia, cup of soap, cup of liquid lawn food, and if you would like to, and until you try it, you'll never know, 1 cup of urine in it, and every 3 weeks, everything that's growing in dirt gets fed with it. You will have the greenest grass, the prettiest flowers, and the tastiest garden on your side of the fence.
He's an amazing guy, America's master gardener, Jerry Baker. And I'm sure folks read in the paper about your marriage here last November. Now, I had heard you talk on the air last November about getting married, but I hadn't realized that it was right here in Des Moines.
I broadcast, and then I went from here, went home and got dressed and went to my wedding, and I was married at St. Augustine's. Shirley Bisignano, a long time. resident of here.
Right.
And she and I left 2 days later on our honeymoon back to our home in Florida, our new home in Florida, and took the 14 dogs in a van.
Wow.
Listen, they made less noise than 3 children. They didn't make a sound. It was potty time and they went. But
How did you meet her? How would you meet someone
Here.
from Des Moines?
When I was appearing at the Home and Garden Show, I do the circuit, and I was introduced by friends.
And you just said hi?
Yeah,
And
and
all
then
of a sudden
we-
it's, you want to go out to eat or what?
Yes, well, that was a year later.
Followed you around from place to
No,
place?
never did that. Nope.
Or were you pursuing her, maybe?
I'm pursuing her.
Oh, I
Yes,
get it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty exciting, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we've had a wonderful life, and we do, and we're on the go all the time. As a matter of fact, I'll only be home about 5 days this month. I've got so many things going, and I'm going to put in when I get home, I've got 1.5 days. I'm going to literally put in a 50 rows garden, a garden, trellises and all. I'll put that in and start it. A vegetable garden, and I use old dog. You know these dog kennels you buy? You see them in hardware in the things where they're a section. You buy them in sections.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the greatest thing. If you want to put in a vegetable garden, you got a problem keeping environments out. Those things are not that expensive. You can put them right around where your garden is and keep all the environments out of there. So I'm going to do one of those and show people, and I'm putting it up on top of the septic tank, up on the septic hill. It'll be up on there, and then raised garden inside of that. A friend of mine put a golf green up on top of his, because now you have to mound them in certain areas. And these are all things that you see on the PBS specials. And I started, the PBS specials were filmed and started right here in Iowa as a favor to a friend of mine,
Really?
who is my producer.
Well,
Yep.
that's fantastic. Let's go to the phone lines. Jerry, everybody's waiting for you. They're getting a chance to talk. Here's Kelly from Winterset. Hi, Kelly. What's your question for Jerry?
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Kelly.
I really enjoyed your gardening tips for over the years, but I got to tell you, I did something stupid. I planted my tomatoes Monday, and on Wednesday we had snow.
Okay.
I mulched around them with leaves, and then I had them in rings because I had started these from seed in January, so they were rather large. And I put it like a plastic bucket over the top of each one of them. But the leaves are, they've been affected by the weather. But the stems on a lot of them are still rather firm.
They probably will be fine. What you're going to do is you're going to take that container off, and what I would like you to do in the future, and if there's any change where that temperature is going below 40, just make a hat, like a soldier's hat out of paper, just 2 layers. Make sure that you put something to support it so it doesn't crumble down on it. That will be sufficient. That's 10 degrees difference. The plastic, you literally made a refrigerator, because what happened is while it was cold on the outside and warm on the inside, that then again cooled up, but when the outside warmed up, the inside stayed cool in reverse. All I would do is I would simply sprinkle around each one of them a tablespoon of sugar, staying in as close as you can to the plant and moving out. So I would do a circle. I got my fingers up, probably about a 6-inch circle on the base of them. That's your sugar and starches, and they'll take that up and they'll be on an IV. And then the best thing then to do is all I would do is to shield them with paper if it was necessary.
Okay.
I don't want the leaves pulled off. I want the leaves that are going to go. And then as soon as they're wrinkled and it's started and you can see new breaks, then go ahead and just take that foliage off. You're going to have late. They're going to flower late. You may have to use a blossom setter, and that's where the apple juice comes in. The can of beer, the can of Coke, the can of apple juice. Apple juice gives off ethylene gas. That's why it's important to always put that into your formula when you do it.
Great. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Hope it works. Suzette, you're on next with Jerry Baker, America's Master Gardener. Hi, Suzette.
Hi.
Hi, Suzette. What can I do for you?
I need to know, I had one of those shaker cans of wildflowers, and I also had a bag of wildflowers, but the bag of wildflowers could be like 2 or 3 years old. It's been out in my garage for a long time. First of all, I need to know if that is a problem, that they're old. And then I planted all of this in an area where an old mobile home used to sit, and it's been 2 weeks or maybe a little more, and there's not really much. I mean, I see some things, but at this point, I can't tell if it's just little weeds popping up or if it's flowers.
Well, there is no such thing as a weed. It's a plant we haven't found a use for, and now they call them wildflowers.
Okay.
First of all, the reason I wrote a book that's in its 34th printing, The Impatient Gardener, was exactly for you, sweetheart. And the thing is, just leave it alone. One of the things that you might go ahead and do is, and if you haven't, or if you would like to, is simply take, and again, we're going back, sugar. Plants manufacture sugars and starches. Sugar feeds the bacteria, which breaks down any fertilizer that's in the soil. So just go ahead and lightly over that area. If you got a handheld spreader, you just put on a 1 and go over it very quickly. The rest of the thing is, as soon as they break, the temperature gets up to 45, stays in there, then start your tonic. Can of beer, can of cola, can of apple juice, cup of ammonia, cup of soap, cup of liquid lawn food, mix it all together. If you want to use it in a sprinkling can form, it's 3 shot glasses of that in a gallon of water. But they'll be fine. Just they're afraid of you, not the weather, and
Okay.
they'll come along.
Thanks, Suzette.
Okay, thank you very much.
So it's okay, those old things that are sitting in the garage for a couple of years?
Well, we don't know how many of them have dehydrated.
Right.
But the thing is, it's better to have them out and find out whether they're any good than sit there in a bag and never know.
Right. Elaine, you're up next with Jerry Baker, America's Master Gardener. Hi, Elaine.
Hello.
Hi.
My question has to do with transplanting a rose bush that was dug up in one state, and I brought it home.
How long's it been in the container it's in?
Probably about 5 days.
That's fine. One of the things that you want to do is to make sure that you dig a hole. I want you to dig a hole just no more than an inch larger than the container, than the ball that you have. And I want you to go about an inch deeper. And then I want you to pack, when you put the soil in, put it in, and then pack it down in that crease with a stick. So I take air holes out of it. And then go ahead and bring any mulch around it, and then I want a grocery bag put over the top of it. Cut it back so that it comfortably goes in a grocery bag. Has it already been cut back?
It hasn't done an awful lot of growing.
I don't want it to grow. I mean, was the
No,
old wood cut back?
I don't think they cut it before we dug it up.
Okay, what I want you to do is cut it back so it comfortably goes into a craft bag, and I want you to put that over the top of it and anchor it down and put a pencil hole in the north side and the south side of it. Not the east or west. I want it to stay there for at least 10 days, then take the bag off. Then watch your new breaks come. When your new breaks come, you'll cut back just above the lowest growth, going to the outside, and seal it with a mixture of spit and dirt.
Okay,
And
thanks
it'll
for
be
calling.
fine.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Linda, you've been waiting for a while. What's your question for Jerry?
Well, here's a funny one. I have the greenest thumb around, all
Good.
my friends say. We have a pet rabbit in a cage indoors, and is there any way I can use her droppings, if they're not too hot, for fertilizer, or else to deter the wild rabbits that we want out of the garden?
Well, first of all, it is the second best fertilizer in the world. Third best. First is worm castings. Second is cricket crap, cricket manure.
Really?
Yeah, really. Well, that's people raise them for bait down south, and it's a big business. Third are rabbit droppings, and you betcha it's really wonderful. One of the things you want to do is to let it dry out slightly, and the reason is because you'd get too much of a concentration of nitrogen from the animal's urine. That would be part of it, but it really is good. And remember, anytime you're using any nitrogen source, always use sugar as part of a nitrogen source. So when I did do it, if you're using that, use the tonic, the can of beer, the can of Coke. Coke is your sugar source. Or overdo your garden with 1 pound. Agriculturally, we use 3 pounds of sugar per acre. If we're doing it, but the rabbit castings are absolutely wonderful.
Linda, I think Jerry's discovered a new small business for you to have out of your home.
Well, as a giveaway, I would use a peck per 100 square feet.
That much?
A
Yeah.
peck per 100 square feet. A peck is a quarter of a bushel, dear.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that would be per 100 square feet, and I would use that twice a year.
Have you got that much?
Oh, yes.
And-
It's collect.
It
It's
does.
wonderful.
It's that you get that much from rabbits. Wow. Well, Linda, we all learned something, didn't we?
Yes.
Thanks a lot for
Wonderful,
calling.
thanks.
All right, Phyllis, what's your question for Jerry Baker? Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, fellas. This is Jerry. What can I do for you?
I have a redbud tree that is lost practically all of its outer bark, but it's starting to bud real nice. And I was wondering what caused it or what I can do to...
Well, it could be any one of a number of things. It could be Southwest bark split that would have come from a cold winter that went warm, but the other thing is it could also have been from insects or disease. I would get tree wrap on it right away. And tree wrap can be purchased at any garden center. Just get that around it.
I've been doing about 3 years.
You've been wrapping?
No, the bark it's been off about that long.
Okay.
And I don't see any bugs or anything.
I still want you to wrap. I would like you to wrap
Okay.
it just one time and leave it like that, and then next spring take it off, and let's see what happens if we've healed up.
Great. Thanks, Phyllis.
Hey, wait a minute. You have this shampoo and activator
Yes.
that you sold.
Mm-hmm.
Is that used? We hadn't said you were using it instead of some of that formula.
Well, the thing is, when you use Yarden Activator, the Yarden Activator is used, and then but you still use your sugar on the ground, or you can take that and pour half of it off, fill the ready-to-use bottle full of Coke, use that, and then pour the other half back in, fill it with Coke, and use it, and now you got Super Activator.
Thank you, Phyllis, for calling. Phyllis wanted to host the show, I think. Is it Liza from Brooklyn? Lisa or Liza?
Liza.
Liza. Hi, Liza.
Hi, Liza. What can I do for you?
Well, it was the same thing as what Linda called, but I wondered if there was anything other than fertilizer, like if I could use it in compost or...
You're talking about rabbit droppings?
Yeah, rabbit droppings.
You betcha. You can use it. You can use it in and around evergreens. You can use it under your mulch. You can use it in a compost pile. You can take a bag of it, a double coffee can of rabbit droppings, put it down into 5 gallons of water into which you put 2 Cokes in, and now whenever you want to give your plants a little something, take 2 cups of that and put it in a gallon of water and give it to them, and look out, man, they'll grow right up your pant leg.
Does that help, Liza?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Doug, you're next up with Jerry Baker, America's Master Gardener. Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Hi, Doug. What can I do for you?
Well, I've got a question that comes up every year. We argue about it between several of us. What tomato plant out there produces the biggest, best tomato there is?
Well, the biggest is not the best, remember. But Big Boy still, over the long haul, is probably the best if you're going to pick a big tomato. It's not as runny as the new ones, but the best tomato for all-around tomato, that is, for using in salads, for slicings and things, is still the old Marglobe. Marglobe, M-A-R-G-L-O-B-E, Marglobe. The other thing that you want to remember is to plant tomatoes that come in at different times. And when you're looking at the seed catalogs, you will see Arctic varieties. In some of them, you'll see short season. When you plant your tomatoes so they come in. The early ones, the Arctic ones, will come in first. And then, and about the time they're going down, then the next ones come in. So when you look in your seed catalogs, order the Arctic varieties or short season tomato to go along with the one you have. To answer your question, in my opinion, Big Boy is still, overall, of the big tomatoes, is the best.
Okay. It seemed like a few years ago on one of your specials that you'd mentioned like a Junkyard John's tomato.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's and again, that's in that same, and it's called a Mortgage Buster tomato.
Thanks for listening to WHO Radio. I think Jerry Baker's America's Master Broadcaster after hearing his stories of all the calls that he takes. How many thousands per minute attempt?
The attempt rate is 22,000.
22,000 a minute try to get through to your
show.
show.
Attempts, right. Yep. So that's why people say, why do you say to somebody, gee, I've been calling you for a year and they got through or something like that. But it's just, and if you get in, buy a lottery ticket.
Neil, you have a question? Go ahead. Hi, Neil.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Neil. How are you? What can I do for you?
Fine. I've got a question for my sumac. I have a natural stand of sumac. It's about 5 feet tall, about 50 by 50 foot square. The last 2 years, it's gotten black spots on it and started firing real early, like in August, and drops its leaves before it really gets red, like it should in late September.
The regular formula you hear me talk about, Listerine, a cup of each of these, cup of Listerine mouthwash, cup of chewing tobacco juice, cup of chamomile tea.
Yep.
We'll go with you with a cup of lemon-scented soap and 1 cup of urine. That will go in it. You will put fruit tree spray into that spray at 25% of the recommended rate. Every third time you use it as a regular spray, but you'll isolate. If you want to isolate, take that spray, 2 ounces to a gallon, then go ahead and put your fruit tree spray in at 25% of the recommended rate into that gallon.
Do I need to do anything on the grass, such as growing below it?
Always. You always spray, folks. Anytime you spray a medication, always spray into the plant, on the dirt, come up on the inside, and then all the way around, then come out and over the top, going down.
Thanks, Neil. We get one more call in. B, you get the last call. How about that for Jerry Baker? Go ahead, B.
I have a magnolia bush, and the rabbits were one that attacked it this winter some. I didn't get the wire around, and I was wondering if there's something I can do for those branches.
Okay, real quick.
Yes, ma'am. The thing is that where they got into it, I would like them painted with interior latex paint. Take 8 ounces and put a teaspoon of Listerine in, and then put any color coloring you want. You can use food coloring in there to color it, so it's the same color. Paint those places where they made them bare.
Jerry Baker, you're an amazing guy. You're great.